Everybody hates opening Pinterest or Instagram and seeing something like this, a terrible AI-generated Minecraft house. But what if I told you there's a way to fight back against these terrible AI-generated houses that are ruining the internet? Open Pinterest, find the first AI house you see, and reclaim it. Build the houses for real in-game and then post it yourself on Pinterest, taking AI and replacing it with real in-game content. It's easy to do, and I'm going to show you how I got from some terrible AI image like this to a fully detailed in-game house in just 5 easy steps. Let's get into it. But before we actually get into the build here, we have to pick out an AI house from Pinterest. As you can see here, there's kind of a lot for me because my Pinterest is kind of cooked for the AI house videos. So my algorithm is full of them. Like, yeah, this AI, this AI, this AI, this is obviously AI. So yeah, I'm gonna look for a cool looking one and then we'll kind of get into it. All right, after a bit of digging to find something kind of interesting, I settled on this house right here. You know, it's interesting, I'll give it that. But real quick before we get into the actual build, I'm gonna give you a few tips for how to easily spot any AI generated house in seconds. Some of them are a lot easier to spot than others. This one is pretty easy. One thing you wanna look for is inconsistencies in block size and shape. If you look here, these aren't like a block anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is really happening here, you know what I mean? That makes no sense. Over here especially, this is kind of a massive stone brick texture. It looks very weird. Obviously, it's not what it actually would look like. Up here, I mean, this looks like an opening with stairs, but the stairs are flush with the wall, and there's like an odd center on the stairs somehow, which obviously wouldn't work or happen in game. And that's getting to the beginning of it. You know, the lanterns are like floating on the walls. This is on like a center, despite this being like a 2-block center. But yeah, this house is obviously AI generated, so let's get into Minecraft and start with our first of 5 steps to easily build any AI generated house in game. The first step is something we have to think about before we even place a single block, and that's where we're gonna be building. Now that AI house I chose is basically just in like a flat void, so this step is kind of bypassed here and we don't have to worry about it much, but I'll show you real quick some examples. This AI house from my previous video was built in a kind of spruce forest, so I just chose a spruce forest with like a water body here, which was kind of similar to the image, just to kind of get the same vibe across. This one was in a more wooded forest, just kind of like normal oak forest kind of setting. So again, chose the same kind of place for it. And this one is probably the one that was most important for me to get the location right, because it was just kind of on the ocean on this like stone slab. So you just got to really think about where you're building, because it's going to just make a huge difference when you actually get to building the house and you actually finish it and want that screenshot at the end. So yeah, because this house is seemingly just in the middle of like a grass square in the void, we're going to be building it on a super flat because I think it would fit the most. And that brings us to our second step, which is very important. And if you get this wrong, everyone will leave comments saying you're wrong. And that is the block choice. Now, usually you'll never have an exact block match, and you'll have to kind of choose whatever you think in your mind is the closest block. This house, though, has a pretty simple kind of color scheme. There's a lot of white and a lot of stone. So those are blocks with a lot of Minecraft choices. So let's kind of get out what I would personally use for this. For the walls, I'll probably use a mix of concrete, wool, and concrete powder. Just for a bit of texturing in there, I think it'll look better than just being completely flat. And for most of the stone details, I'll just be using stone brick and like the slab and stair variant. I'm probably gonna go through and texture with like cobblestone and that kind of stuff once I actually kind of get a more cohesive shape in, but this is basically the main block palette I'm going to use. When looking at the image, there's some like weird roof overhang things and a lot of doors. They kind of look like jungle shape, jungle color rather, my bad. So we might use jungle for it. This is just very like rough planning here. Like, this isn't set in stone or anything. And then obviously there's lanterns and the path blocks and then a bunch of leaves. But this is basically the main color scheme we're gonna be working with, which I think will actually look pretty good. So once you have your blocks, the next step is actually very important. That is what kind of scale you're gonna be building your house at. Now, usually in every AI generated house, you'll have some kind of like door that I would usually use to kind of base the scale off of. Usually a door in Minecraft is either like a 1x2 door or like a 2 wide and 3 tall door, or kind of like the classics. So I'd use that to kind of scale it. So if there's like a doorway here and you see that maybe like the wall would be like this height, then that would be what I would use to kind of scale it. If it's 2 stories, and you'd stack that on top. For this specific build though, kind of in an interesting spot where there is a door, but I kind of find it easier to base the scale off of this archway in the front. Archways in Minecraft, you kind of generally want to be like 4 or even 5 blocks across. I think 4 would maybe be the more accurate scale here. We'll just kind of experiment here and see what we like, I think. Sometimes we'll be luckier and there will be blocks in the AI generation that like you can pretty much easily count in like a grid. This is not as lucky here, so you kind of have to eyeball it sometimes. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what kind of scale I can get this archway in for this build, and that will be the scale I'm going to build it at. So something like that might look pretty good. That's a 4-block archway, or I could do 5. We could scale it up a bit. Maybe that's kind of the scale I want to go for. While on the topic of scale though, this kind of house is an easy example of it. This house had a very clear door in the AI generation. So you of course know what a Minecraft door is. So you can place a door. It looked tall, so I put a trap door on top of it. And then I used that as the height for the whole floor. I'll probably have the image on screen now so you can see what I mean. So you can kind of use stuff you know what it should look like as an easy reference to kind of get the scale right. But yeah, let's go back to the other build. So now that we kind of have the scale we're working with, this kind of takes us to the next step, which is actually most of the build, which is kind of to use the scale in combination with the fourth step, which is shape, to get a whole outline of basically the entire house. Just kind of like the general shape of it, basically undetailed, but it'll just be like a very easily detailable kind of like husk of a house basically. So you can see on the left of this image here, we have another archway. There's a lot of weird like generation artifacts with it, but you can't tell that's what it's meant to be. So we'll get an archway in here. Again, it's using the same one I used in the front, even though it kind of looks different. It kind of just makes the most sense to me, I think. And yeah, that's kind of, I think you can see what we're going for here. So we got to imagine it in 3D space also when doing scale and shape, because the back also needs a shape. So over here, we can't really see in the generation, right? But you can assume that you could walk through it because that's kind of what it looks like at the bottom. So I'll just put an archway here, just the exact same as the other sides. And then yeah, it's kind of this like front bottom part done. I actually think I like it. Obviously it looks really weird with no texturing. I'm gonna obviously blend this in, but I'm choosing white wool for the block and then diorite for like the shaping, of course. So now we're gonna follow this back with the same kind of scale idea here and just bring it like to the back of the building. Now it's kind of hard to get an exact scale, like kind of judgment here. So you just kind of have to look at what details are over there. So on the left side of this house, there's seemingly a window, maybe like a block in. So maybe like here, there's a window of some sort, probably like 2 across. And then there's a bit of a gap here. And there's like a serving window, which I'll make maybe 4 across or so. And there's a few blocks and then a wall. So that might be the sort of scale I'd go for. I'm not sure if that's final or not. I'll kind of stack it up to a wall height and see what it's looking like. But yeah, you just basically have to use what kind of details you could see and just kind of vaguely judge what kind of scale you're going for with it. And, use that to make the whole shape of the build. So let's kind of stack this up to wall height and see what we're working with. You can see at the tops of these windows are just kind of below where this arch finishes off. So it'll probably be about here. And this will go up all the way. And that is kind of one side of the first floor about done, just with the scale and the shape. Once we come through and we add all the details and everything with the final step, it'll really tie it together. But this is kind of the hardest part, honestly, is just getting like this general kind of broad stroke sort of thing in. But yeah, I like that. So let's just kind of fill in this whole back. The details on it aren't too important. You could use a bit of your imagination for it, but it's not that serious. All right, that's kind of the first floor filled in completely, except for this inner part, actually, which you can tell does have a wall. So for now, I'm just going to kind of fill it in completely empty, and then we'll kind of look back at it after we get the shape done and see what kind of details we're getting in here. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to fill it in. All right, so that's kind of the general shape for the first floor done. I think it's pretty solid. I scaled it up a bit, of course, but I think it actually looks pretty good. So now I got to worry about the second floor, which is kind of where it starts to get a bit interesting. Right above this archway, there's like a stone brick layer, which I think I might do wall there instead, but for now, we'll do this. Might be a block lower, honestly. We'll see. See, maybe something like that actually would look better. But the problem is the depth on the AI image is just kind of wrong. If you really look at it, I'll make it bigger during this. There's basically a block of depth here and then the wall. You know what I mean? But like, it's clear based off the details there, there's more depth. And this is again, because AI doesn't generally have the best understanding of 3-dimensional space. So I think we'll kind of compromise and say that like the wall is like here. So I think we'll do something like that. It's kind of a compromise in the middle. Again, this isn't about building it exactly the same. This is about how we could use it to make our own build, basically. But yeah, something like that. It looks about the same height as the bottom part. So I believe that's 5 blocks. I think it might look better as like a block taller. So I think I'll do that. But then the roof will start like here. So it won't really be like a block taller, So yeah, it's kind of like just fill this whole wall in with just blocks, basically, I think. All right, I know this is looking kind of weird right now, but I think it'll come together for sure. All right, let's use world edit here and fill these walls in, and then we'll get started on the roof, I think. Okay, so we're getting there. Now we'll get the roof shape in, which I think will just be slabs going up with stone bricks. Again, in the actual AI image, it's kind of like somewhere between slabs and like stairs, but I just think it's because it doesn't understand what it's doing. You know what I mean? I don't think it's not really a design choice, I don't think. But yeah, let's see how this kind of goes up if we just take this up like this. And yeah, I think that's not bad. That kind of matches the scale of the AI image. Like if you get the angle kind of right, then I think that actually looks pretty good. Obviously, it's kind of scaled up on like a block to block sort of basis, but all the parts look in proportion to each other, which kind of what matters here. But yeah, it's not bad. I'm just gonna fill this whole roof in real quick, which should not take too long. And then we can kind of get on to some more intricate detailing stuff. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, I'd appreciate if you subscribed. We're, closing in on 100K eventually, that'll be crazy. But yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. It means a lot. All right, so that's kind of just like the general like blank slate of the shape and the scale of the house completely done. I think it matches the AI image pretty well. Obviously, got to get the windows, doors, vines, get this kind of front porch area, the path at the bottom, and all that stuff. From like just like the shape, I think it's looking pretty good. We got a lot of details to get in though, and that is the 5th step of this, which is of course detailing. First of all though, I'm gonna figure out what I want to do here because you can't actually see it. So I think we could go dark oak here, like this porch sort of thing. I think it'll add a nice bit of contrast to it. So we'll go something like that, but yeah. Anyway, let's start with getting holes in for everywhere that I think a door and a window is based off the AI image. So obviously we have these here. I think I'm gonna make that slightly taller, just to kind of look a bit better. I don't know. But then this front part is where it gets weird because we have like a double door in the middle, sort of, but it's like kind of weird. It's like something like that, like scale wise. Then we have a large window like here and a large window like here. It's not bad. Kind of looks like a face, which is kind of classic for Minecraft, I feel like. But then there's some weird window thing going on up here, which kind of looks like a triangle. For some reason, the AI image, it put stone bricks there. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to be doing that, I don't think. But yeah, it looks kind of something like this. I think once we get some details in, it'll look a lot better. But that's kind of where the windows and doors are. And at the bottom, looks like we have a support like here that kind of matches with this. But yeah, this kind of matches here. Maybe we should have these curve in, I think. Something like that. I don't know. Something like that. Just very vaguely. And then the door is seemingly here. We can't see what's here because this support blocks it in the image. But then there's a window here. And here's kind of an area that we can't see, obviously, with the AI because it's underneath. So we kind of just, it's up to us to just detail it everyone. I just did something like that for now. We'll come back and we'll texture that a bit. Then up here, there's one window, which is similar to this, but smaller. Kind of something like that. So that's basically all the windows we could see. We could, of course, do the back and stuff. I don't know if that really matters too much. Maybe we'll get to that after. But I'm happy with that. I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, now that we're in the 5th step of this build, which is detailing, this is kind of the time where we want to texture stuff. So I'm going to go through with like kind of a gradient and just kind of do what I want here. This is kind of where you start to divert a lot more from the AI build. Just gotta do whatever you think looks good, basically. All right, I think it looks pretty good for the roof texturing. Kind of has a lot of variation to it. Same with the foundation and everything. But yeah, it's kind of most of like the general, like really like important stuff done. And now it's just basically looking at this AI image and seeing what details we're missing. The first one I see immediately is that chimney, so we'll get some cobblestone out. But then obviously there's all the plants everywhere and the path and like the actual window blocks and all the wood and everything. And then we're like probably almost done. Let's start with the chimney. It's kind of like generally here, I think, just in that kind of area. It kind of goes up a couple blocks. And at the top, it might just be like this. It's kind of hard to tell. That might be the best way to do it. I like that. I think that's chimney done. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Yeah, it's kind of a banger. All right, now I'm gonna get all the blocks in that are like these doors and windows. I'm not sure what to use for it. I think jungle looks accurate for the stuff over them, but I'm not sure about the windows themselves. I think for these, it kind of honestly just looks like this. It's not bad. These almost look like slabs. I think it's more like that, actually. Because when you look at the AI image, there's just kind of more of like an empty space on the side. So I think it's something like that. That looks pretty good, honestly. Like, wait a minute. And now is this door, which is something I'm just not looking forward to doing. But I think I have an idea, kind of. It looks like it's jungle and glass. So, like, maybe what I could do here. Give me a second. Yes, it's a 2-wide door in the image. Just doesn't work in Minecraft because if you look at the top of this image, kind of like it's obviously an odd thing. Like if I were to do it even, then this wouldn't work or anything. So I need the house itself to be odd. So this is just one of the many like sacrifices you have to make when you're building something like this. So sometimes some parts just don't make sense. Ignore that didn't fit through there, by the way. But I think if we put glass back here, maybe we get white glass instead. I feel like that works. I think maybe we just do something like that because it looks a bit too tall, I think. Just texture a bit up here. I think that looks the best, I think. Oh, we gotta put the windows in here too, which they kind of look darker. We'll see what spruce looks like, but we might just go for jungle again on them. But I feel like spruce fence might look kind of accurate for these. That looks accurate. They're kind of like a dark grid of like blocks in there, so I think it's that. But they're kind of in the shadow, so it's hard to actually tell. I think we'll put glass behind these, maybe. I like that. Kind of has like a fog sort of thing to the back of it. Looks pretty good. This is kind of the step where you start looking at the image and you do stuff like inspired by that part, but you know you can't do the exact same. So you just make it look good in like a Minecraft setting. Like this kind of porch thing here. This, I guess balcony is probably the word for it. If you notice in the AI image, it's level with the door, like the stone brick, but there's no fence on it, which won't work. We'll need a fence of some sort. So we'll just kind of see what block looks good here. Jungle might fit. Blends in a bit too much with the door, I think. So we'll go spruce, I think. Because we don't have a lot of spruce on this build. Because there's like dark oak and jungle and stuff. Obviously there's spruce in the windows, but that looks good in my opinion. So now what we'll do is kind of, you know, in the 5th step of detailing, it kind of is partially just about like Minecraftifying the image a bit. So you can see there's a lot of leaves everywhere, but there's not an easy way to really do that properly in Minecraft, I don't think, without having like flower pots of some sort around. So I think what we'll do is have stuff like this around, right? I get leaves, like a lot of leaves. We'll do kind of stuff like this, basically. With some ferns in here. Just kind of doing like a small part as like an example, I think. And yeah, just something like that. It gets the like kind of really green effect across. While still looking pretty good in Minecraft. So we'll put a couple of these around with a bunch of leaves going everywhere. And then we'll kind of just see where we're at, I think. By the way, if you ever need a fence to connect to something, just use a gate. Wow, my mouse just died. But like, you just use a gate here. It looks a bit weird without the thing going down, but it looks better connecting to the side. So something like that. Do one over here, I guess. Maybe on the corner. Why not? Let's get some leaves. So yeah, something like that. We're starting to get the kind of like vibe across that we're looking for here. Azalea, then maybe like a, I don't know. Get a bit of color in there, I think. But yeah, I think we're really starting to get there. That looks really good. Like, that's not just me, right? Like, that looks really good. All right, let's get this window in. I think I'm just gonna put white glass back here. I don't really see what other option I really have. That doesn't look bad. That looks fine. Now it has this like weird stripe going up there. I don't even know if I want that because like it looks kind of bad. And I don't know what AI would really be like what that's really meant to be. You know what I mean? Like it looks like that with like a fence coming out, maybe. Maybe we just do a fence. Maybe that might be the middle ground. That might be the middle ground we go for. I think that looks all right. It doesn't look amazing, but I think it kind of gets the thing across while still can kind of like detailed, like it doesn't look too out of place, I don't think. So we'll kind of settle on that. But yeah, kind of this top part is actually coming out really good now. We'll kind of focus on some more stuff that we could see in the AI, and then we'll just kind of add our own stuff to make it fit more into Minecraft. So I think next we worry about this whole left side here. So the vines and leaves going out the top, this window, you know, this kind of like, I don't know, in my head, that's like a serving window. Like this is a restaurant of some sort. So we'll get that in, then the path. Then we're honestly like, kind of almost done, I think. I really like this build. Yeah, let's start with these plants. There's like some stairs coming off here too, which I guess I should do. I don't know. I guess. By the way, I got a Discord. Highly recommend joining. A lot of cool people in there. I know we talk about Minecraft and stuff in there sometimes, you know. But yeah, let's get some plants here. I think it would look good if some of them kind of poke through the roof, but I might go back on that. I don't know. It's not bad. I'm not trying to make these plants like exact or anything. I mean, that's kind of what they look like. I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of them, but kind of important to the actual build. We'll thin them out a bit with vines, I think might be the plan. All right, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I like that. Actually, you know, I'm gonna be positive. I like the way it's coming out. I do like the way it's coming out. Way better than the terrible AI image we're looking at here. But now let's get this kind of thing in. It looks like it has something similar to this. Maybe dark oak. So we'll get kind of the same blocks out. We'll just kind of see what we could do here. I think I like something like that. And obviously I'll put lanterns hanging from that and stuff. We got some windows here, which I think I'll just do this on. I think that's kind of the method because we can't really see them. So let's do that because I like the way it looks. Like, come on, this is fire. I'm gonna get rid of these just so we can get like a better view of the house. But you know, they'll be missed. All right, we're cooking. Let's do the same window stuff down here. Obviously get the door and everything. And then we'll kind of just step back and see what we gotta do next. All right, come on, this is actually kind of fire. Let's get this whole path in. Very simple. Like stone sort of texturing, I think. Here we'll go cobble, stone brick, cracked stone brick, stone. Oh, with some moss around too, because it's a very like overgrown sort of house. So it would make sense for there to be some like moss and kind of tough textures down in this kind of like path here. I really like that. That looks so good. All right, I'm gonna do it over here and then we're done with the path part at least. All right, it's kind of the path done. I really like it. Let's add some leaves around this bottom area here because there's definitely some in the AI thing. Then we're kind of almost done, I think. I don't know. Really solid. I really like this house coming out. Like, this is so good. I'm kind of cooking. Like, I don't know. This is kind of the part where, like, I'll do a bit of, like, you know, artist interpretation here. Like, there's, like, a plant here that's kind of going up. So I think what I'm going to do is, like, an azalea sort of thing. Like, something like that, you know? Just kind of, like, Minecraftified a bit. It's, like, a barrel-looking thing here, I guess. Sure. Yeah, why not? We'll put like a bench here. Just think of like random ways to like add stuff that kind of seem interesting. I like that. Just kind of adds a bit of character. You know, put a plant here, a bit of vines going. Like, we're like almost done, I think. This looks so good. All right. Since we can't really see anything on the AI thing, there's nothing here, but I'm gonna put like kind of like a small dining area here, I think. Like, you know, because it seems like a restaurant sort of build. At least, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know. Like a shop, something like that. Looks pretty good. You know, a lot of plants here, you know. Then, you know, let's get like some of the classic details. Pressure plates and like cups, you know. That's not bad. We'll get like a very simple carpet here. I feel like they'd have like, it's like nature, you know. I feel like it'd be green. Something like that. It's not bad. We'll get a couple candles and a bunch of lanterns because they're like kind of everywhere on here. And then I think we're like about done, I want to say. I don't know. You know, the goal isn't to exactly copy it, obviously. So, you know, just doing stuff that I think would look cool. But yeah, let's get some lanterns around. Looks there's some here. Oh, there's one here, which I can't do without a debug stick. I usually try to avoid a debug stick. But for this one, sure. There's something over here as well. I guess probably the same sort of thing. There's one here. There's one like here, I think that's just kind of it. I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing anything obvious that I'm missing. I didn't really do the right side or the back. They're like done, but like not as heavily detailed as everywhere else because, you know, I kind of wanted to focus on the AI part. All right, with that and a little bit of zoom to kind of get a better screenshot, like that's a banger. I turn shaders on. Like, tell me that's not like 1,000 times better than that AI image. Like, come on. I'm telling you, literally anybody can do this just by following the simple 5 steps of choosing the right spot, getting the right blocks out, selecting the right scale for the build, getting the right shape, and then doing the right details in kind of like a Minecrafty style. I'm telling you, anybody can do this. Make a really cool looking house from a terrible AI image. But yeah, you know, if you enjoy this video, consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you watch this video, you know, you should go on Pinterest right now, get an AI house, build it, and you should post it yourself. And then maybe together we can kind of stop this horrendous AI epidemic that's going on over there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys next one. And of course, shout out to my patrons, Aelic, Amirali, ThaMango, Luke 007, Tommi, and of course, Sai, and yeah, see ya.